Hello YouTube and welcome to Cyprime Productions. I'm here to help enhance your tabletop gaming experience. If you're new to this channel, I primarily cover Paizo tabletop role-playing games like Pathfinder and Starfinder. And if you want to help me out, I have a Patreon and free Discord, more info at the end of the video. Now I'm going to get to Starfinder here in a second, but I want to talk about Warhammer 40k first. For those who don't know, Warhammer 40k is, like Starfinder, a science fantasy franchise. That means that there is sci-fi technology, but also magic, or at least something that is magic adjacent. Warhammer 40k started off as a tabletop war game, but has since expanded into books, video games, animated shorts, and a bunch of other stuff. The important thing to know about Warhammer 40k is that it is an ultra-black, grimdark satire where there are no good guys. And that's not me saying that. Games Workshop, the makers of Warhammer 40k, have come out and confirmed that at least the human faction in 40k is satire. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Warhammer 40k for various reasons. Chief among them is that I like my escapist fantasy to have at least a slight glimmer of hope. And Warhammer, well, have you heard the term grimdark? Yeah, Warhammer invented the term. Literally. But a lot of you viewers like it, and I've picked up a fair amount of Warhammer lore by osmosis, so let's see if we can't create an iconic Space Marine for Warhammer 40k here in Starfinder. Side note, yes, I know that there is a Warhammer 40k TTRPG. What I'm doing here is just a fun little exercise. Space Marines are the super soldiers of the Warhammer 40k human faction, the Imperium of Man. They have been genetically, biologically, and cybernetically augmented, and their brains conditioned to the point where they basically aren't even human anymore. They stand between 7 and 8.5 feet tall, depending on the variety of Space Marine and where you are in the timeline. And they are super fast, super strong, super tough, have a longer natural lifespan than an elf, and can even survive in space without a spacesuit. Yeah, kinda sorta. They also have brainwashing or mental conditioning based on your point of view, making them almost fanatically devoted to the Imperium of Man, or most of them anyway. Now there's a whole lot more lore surrounding a Space Marine that I do not have time to get into, so yeah, this is a gross oversimplification. Now there are a bunch of different Space Marines out there. Some are psychic, some ride giant motorcycles, some ride giant wolves. Today I'm going to focus on the prototypical Space Marine. Just a super soldier with a chainsaw sword and a gun running into battle. Now, power scaling Space Marines in the Starfinder universe is kinda hard. Some would say that a prototypical Space Marine is around a level 8 Starfinder character. Some would say that they are level 20 and mythic, and that is still lowballing them. Either way, they aren't level 1 characters, so what I'm building today will be something that's Space Marine flavored? I'll be answering the question, how close can we get to a Space Marine in Starfinder? This is not going to be a perfect one-to-one comparison, I know. I'm just doing the best I can with what I got. We all on the same page? Great. So, like in Pathfinder, when building a character in Starfinder 2nd Edition, we go through the ABCs of character creation, and A stands for Ancestry, and immediately we run into a problem. Space Marines start off as human, but by the end of the process to make them a Space Marine, they are hulking giants. I'd say that being 8.5 feet tall qualifies them for large size. So what I'm going to do is take the Pathfinder Jotun-born ancestry as a base and just reflavor it as augmented human. This ancestry gives our wannabe Space Marine a one-time bonus of 10 HP, makes them large-sized, grants them a boost to Strength and Wisdom and a free boost which we'll put into Constitution, and a flaw to Charisma. This also gives the character the giant, humanoid, and Jotun-born traits. This ancestry also grants low light vision, and Space Marines have enhanced eyesight, so no problem there. Now, Jotun-born do have the ability to glow. We'll just call that maybe a mutation? Some Space Marines do develop mutations. Glowing's probably not one of the canon ones, but it's the best I got. For heritage, I'm going to use the custom mixed heritage for human, which will give our Space Marine the human trait and let them take human feat. So, hey, they're technically human now. For their first level ancestry feat, I'll grab the human feat adapted augmentation, which nets our character a free, common first level augmentation, and kinda sort of increases our augmentation limit by 1. More about that later. Anyway, for the free augmentation, I would grab dermal plating, which lets our character raise their arm as if it were raising a shield, but it doesn't require a free hand. Moving on, B is for background, and I think Cyberborn is the right background for our Space Marine. Reading through the background, it talks about how the character was augmented from a young age, and Space Marines start off the augmentation at a young age. This nets our character a boost to Strength or Constitution and a free boost, and I want both. It also nets them the Crafting skill, Augmentation lore skill, and Augmented Body general feat. This feat increases a Space Marine's max number of augmentations from 4 to 5, plus the free one from the Ancestry feat increases it up to 6. It's not the 19 to 22 augmentations that a 40k Space Marine gets, but hey, it's the max Starfinder allows. Next up, C is for class, and I think it's pretty obvious that a Space Marine is a soldier. This gets them a bonus to Constitution as well as 10 hit points per level. They start off expert in Fortitude and Will saving throws and are trained in a whole bunch of stuff. I'll just put it on screen right now. They are also trained in Intimidation along with 3 other skills plus any more for high intelligence, and spoiler alert, our Marine's intelligence is going to end up being +1. So let's go with the skills Athletics, Piloting, Society, and Occultism. Athletics for obvious reasons, Piloting to be able to pilot their jump packs, Society for logistics and stuff, and Occultism because a lot of the baddies in Warhammer 40k are psychic related, and psychic stuff is Occultism in Pathfinder. For my Warhammer fans, I view this as them being able to identify and know about how to fight the forces of chaos. Moving on to class abilities. This Space Marine will get Suppressive Fire, which says when someone fails a saving throw against one of their area effect attacks, that individual becomes suppressed. They also get Walking Armory, which says that they can use Constitution instead of Strength when meeting an armor's minimum strength requirement. Finally, they get Primary Target, which is kind of big and complicated. I'll put it on screen right now for you to read. The long and the short of it is that when they do an area effect weapon attack, they get a free shot with their ranged weapon. And then we get to the subclass or fighting style of a soldier. Now there are a few, and I grappled with which one to give our Marine, but in the end I settled on close combat, and you'll see why in a second. This subclass gives our character the ability to make big, sweeping area effect attacks with melee weapons, and lets them use melee weapons with soldier feats that are meant to be used with big guns. It also gets them the Whirling Swipe soldier feat for free, and as a soldier, our Marine gets 1 additional soldier feat at first level. I think I'll take Quick Swap, which as a reaction lets our character swap between a 2-handed gun and a 2-handed melee weapon if somebody gets too close. Finally, the character gets 4 free ability boosts at the end of character creation, so I'm going to go with Strength, Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Moving on to equipment. Now, sadly, Space Marines are famous for wearing power armor, which just does not exist in Starfinder 2, at least not yet. And worse yet, even normal heavy armor is too expensive for level 1. Our character is just going to have to make do with freebooter armor until they can afford heavy armor. For weapons, they'll want their iconic chainsword, which is a 2-handed weapon called a Fang Blade in Starfinder. Yes, I know the 40k chainswords are normally one-handed, but I'm working with what I got. Now, canonically, a Space Marine's typical ranged weapon, a bolter or bolt rifle sometimes, is a 75 caliber rifle that shoots explosive shells. And that kinda sounds like a grenade launcher to me. So for the weapon, I grab the Stellar Cannon, which is a weapon that fires off explosive projectiles that can explode into a 10-foot burst and works with our soldiers' primary fire ability. This leaves the last of our starting money to buy some rations and ammo. Couple of things about this character. They are not very dexterous, meaning that they aren't good at firing their ranged weapon, right? Well, sort of. See, when a Starfinder character fires off an area effect attack from a weapon, those DCs are based on the character's class DC, which is based on Constitution for Soldier. So our Space Marine is actually very accurate with area attacks. Now, the free shot from their primary target ability isn't going to hit too often, but that's the price you pay for being able to wreck people with a chainsword, I mean Fang Blade. Now, you could rebuild this character with a dexterity focus instead of strength if you wanted to be better at ranged attacks, and just grab the Whirling Swipe feat for the use of the chainsaw sword if you want. That would be a valid way to build them. Just a few parting thoughts on some level up tips. Obviously, as this character levels up, get them some heavy armor. I would recommend the armor upgrade Jump Jets as well, as 40k Space Marines have jump packs. And when they can afford it, this character will want more augmentations like a cardiac accelerator. I would probably lean heavily into the additional lore skill feat as this character levels up and gets new skill feats. I'd use these to grab things like warfare lore and, depending on the Space Marine, maybe Codex Astartes lore. The Codex Astartes, by the way, is the text of the Space Marines and basically describes how to Space Marine. Some Space Marines follow it, others don't. And as for class feats, there are just a ton of Space Marine-esque soldier feats to pick from. Relentless endurance, shot on the run, overwhelming assault, punishing salvo, and so many more, all thematic for a Space Marine. Okay, that's it for today. Given the limitations of the Starfinder system, how do you think I did? Would you want to play a character like this? Let me know in the comments below. By the way, I want to thank Discord user Hero, who's much more knowledgeable about Warhammer 40k lore than I am and helped me edit this video's script. Thank you, Hero. Hey, as a reminder, I have a Patreon. I'm going to try and post something fun there once a month, but honestly, it's just a way to help keep this channel financially viable. Just a few bucks a month, and I'm toying with the idea of adding a limited higher tier where you can request a specific video. Let me know what you think. I also have a new Discord channel, link in the description. Drop by and say hi. And make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. That tells not only me, but also YouTube that you like this kind of content and would like to see more. And until next time, thank you, good luck, and happy gaming!